Good day everyone, so I'm smashing a chart in your face and I will explain what all of this means, but before we do that, let's talk about something. So a while ago, and I mean a lot of you have seen this, I posted this question like a month ago. If someone who has not spent any money at all in Genshin got a C6 limited 5-star, are we still F2P? And I said, well, just assume the display has been saving up for a long time. And a lot of people have said, yes, yeah, well, that's kind of obvious. And then obviously a follow-up question to that was, if I made a video showing a C6 Yai Miko clearing the Spiral Abyss with no 5-star weapons, do you still consider this as F2P? And a lot of people said no, which is kind of hilarious because one of my channel subscribers, Carmen Day right here, is one of those people that has got an incredible amount of self-control, and what they've done, and this is quite amazing, is they've gotten themselves a C6 Venti. So please go to the channel, give it a like. It's absolutely amazing that someone can have this amount of dedication, and it's absolutely awesome. And you can see sort of the results and so on the pull. It is awesome. They've really done a good job. But the question is, were they just lucky? So this is one thing that Polyhedron sort of said here, that is actually top 5% luck, and I don't think it is. And that's what I want to talk about. Because this is something that is possible for everyone. This is something that if you save up, even if you start saving up now for the next year or like 2 years, you can still get a dedicated C6 5-star if you so wish. And I think this is one thing that I would almost like sort of encourage it if you're an F2P, because then you have like this very, very strong character that you can do a whole lot with. Or you can just do it for your favorite character. They love Venti, and I think for them to get the character that they really love at C6 is kind of awesome, because at the end of the day, Genshin Impact does the meta and all these things don't really matter. There are so many bazillion ways you can clear the Spiral Abyss, and you don't need strong units. You just need the units you love. So let's get into the statistics. Now, to give you some context, the good guys over at GenshinWishes.com have actually collected a lot of wishes, and they sort of like compared it to the in-game experience, and basically the sort of probability, or their conclusion that they've made, is that when MiHoYo says they guarantee a 1.6 consolidated probability, then that is actually the truth, and I kind of believe them. But what's more interesting is the fact that they've actually given us the statistics around pulling and how this sort of works. So just, if you don't know how to interpret all of this, I'll interpret it for you. Basically, before your 70th wish, there is overall like a roughly about a 35% chance that you will get your 5-star before 70 wishes. So every 1 in 3 attempts that you try and get a 5-star, you will get it before 70 wishes. The median number of pulls is around 74, 75. So that would be, if you look at the 0.5 here, so it'll be roughly around here in the middle. And then of course, if you're extremely unlucky, this can go all the way up to about 80 pulls, but it's very rare that you'll be beyond 80 pulls, but it can happen. And of course, someone having to go all the way to 90 is practically impossible, and in fact it hasn't happened yet so far, as I've seen in the data set, which is kind of awesome. Now, what's really amazing about this is that the average the average number of pulls, precisely because you've got this 1/3 chance here, actually brings your average number of pulls with a consolidated probability of 1.6 to about 62 wishes or 63 pulls. And how does this kind of work? Well, this is where we need to do a bit of math. So if you're scared of spreadsheets and all the good things, yeah, just go. You can, yeah, just bear with me. It's actually not that difficult. So basically, you will see here, and let me just quickly go and zoom in. You can see these are your number of summons. So MiHoYo guarantees you ordinarily a 0.6% chance of getting your pull. And basically, once you start working out these probabilities, you can see there the formula, so it's pretty all transparent. You can sort of see like what the per pull chance is as you get further and further on. Now, the big problem here is that MiHoYo, well, because of the fact that there's like a guarantee, we've got to put like 100% pull chance right here. But way before that, you can still see even at the base probability, there is still quite a good chance that you can get your, what do you call it, character before 70 wishes. Exactly like I said earlier, there's about a 35% chance. So how do you work out the average number of pulls given from what MiHoYo has told you? Well, the first thing you do is you take the differences between these pulling probabilities, and once you take these differences all the way up here until 90, what you then do is you just do a bit of a quick sum product with the number of summons, and then you can see that on average it takes about 70 pulls. But it isn't actually 70 pulls, it is actually 62.5. And why? Well, that's because MiHoYo gives you a bit of a rate boost, and this rate boost is what you can see right here, and they've explained it very nicely in the article. But in essence, what happens is MiHoYo starts boosting your odds of getting a 5-star. You can see here on the per pull probability very linearly, so they're pushing you into getting your character, so it becomes way more likely. So in order to account for that, we're actually going to use the consolidated probability, which includes the 90% guarantee. And when we sort of do this, you guys can see here we obviously have to go all the way until infinity, because, well, the way this works is because you don't have the guarantee anymore, because it's all consolidated, you need to go all the way. But you can also then empirically sort of work out what the per pull probability is, and here you can see Excel gives me 62.499. Of course, if you've got the consolidated probability, then the average is just 1 over that, so it's 62.5. Basically, the maths works out. So it takes about 62.5. Here's a nice little chart explaining things if you're really interested in it. But what does this practically mean? It means that for you to get a 5-star, you need to pull about 7 times. But let's assume you lose the 50-50 about 4 times on average. That gives you about roughly 700 Primo Gems that you need to C6 a 5-star character. And obviously, if you just go on the cost, that'll probably be like $1,400. This is pretty consistent with what other people have also experienced and so on. But here's now the bizarre question. Why does this person have about 500, they put it in the comment section, 500 pulls? Why didn't they take 700 pulls? And well, the answer to this is something called like the statistical variation, and it's almost like, I think the easiest way to sort of say it is there is variation in how many sort of 5 stars or C6 5-stars you can get per like attempt in doing so. In other words, sometimes it will take you roughly about 500 pulls, sometimes it will take 700 pulls. If you're really unlucky, it'll take 900 pulls. But in essence, what happens is you also, like you see like a spread of outcomes here, you've got, let's just quickly go to paint. You've also got a spread of outcomes when it comes to the number of pulls you need for like a 5-star. So in essence, it takes roughly about, we saw there about 700 pulls on average. So this can always go up to about 1,000, and this can even go down to something like 300, like on the really lucky side. So when someone has about 500 pulls, they are definitely more on the like lucky side, like right here. But this is also expected because there's another mechanism that sort of kicks in. And it's a mechanism that if you look very carefully on this person's video, you can almost spot it. So basically it'll be about right here. So after the wishes, you can see he's got like 89, what do you call it? Master Star Glitter funds right there. So on average, you should, with about 500 pulls, you should get, depending on your account, 20 to about 30 wish refunds. And those wishes that you get refunded, if you put them all back in, well, obviously then can also then generate more wishes to be refunded and so on. But what they actually do is they take the 700 figure and they slightly bring it down to roughly about 650 on average. So when someone has 500 pulls, that is kind of lucky, but it is not that lucky. I would say anything below 450 pulls would be considered extremely lucky on Genshin Impact. And obviously, if you're like me and you had to really fork out for Shenhe, yeah, then you will definitely start getting into the 800 pulls, which is very unlucky. But in my experience as a whale, of course, most of my pulls have always been between 400 to 600. This is the average range that you'll get, or that you need to C6 a 5-star. And obviously, the more you like have wished in the past, the better your refunds are, which means like you'll pay less for your character. Hayaka took me about, I think, roughly this amount. Raiden Shogun took me about this amount. Kokomi, I think, took me about, I think, 510 if I'm correctly. Shenna definitely, I think, took me somewhere here, and I think it's like 700. It's between 700 and 800. I can't really remember the exact amount. And then obviously, I think Eula was, what was Eula? Because I got two back-to-back Eulas as well, which was also like really, really awesome. I think Eula was also like very, very low. I didn't really have to top up quite a lot. I'd probably say, let's just say 500. But it is what this person's experienced isn't really that super lucky. I'd obviously argue that it's more typical, but the worst case scenario can really be unlucky. So yeah, you can get really burned. But as an F2P player, there's also a chance that you don't get burned, that you can sort of save up not just for the C6, but also their weapon. And yeah, people have also done it. They've also gotten a C6R1 character, which shows you it's entirely possible. But the big point or the big lesson from all of this is that if you are just patient with what you're doing, you can get a proper experience. It doesn't need to be a C6 character. It can be a C2 character. It can be like a C1 or a couple of C1s. It is all about what you would like. I'd argue go for the character you want to, or the characters that you want to spend the most amount of time with. And once you've gotten a decent pool of characters, then start going for constellations on those, because getting more and more characters will start giving you diminishing returns in terms of like overlap between abilities. One character may just do something slightly different than your old character did, but it's just kind of exactly the same from a certain perspective and so on. And as the game definitely progresses, we will find that MiHoYo might push for more niche or new mechanics, and you might be someone that could also then take a different chance and say, well, I'm going to C6 a character as an F2P that I don't even know that I want yet. And that's also a viable strategy. We don't know, maybe I don't know, what's that ruler, the Tsaritsa from the Shniznaya region, perhaps she's like the most broken thing ever, and you're going to C6 her. That's also something you can do. At the end of the day, it's your gaming experience, but yeah, this has just been a lesson on some of the probabilities. Cheers, guys.